The fourth lesson on database will be on queries. So what is a query? A query is basically a question that you ask the database. The database will then retrieve particular records based on your question or query. So for example, you can create a query that asks the database to retrieve records from the earthquakes database that only have a Richter scale measurement of greater than 5. The query criteria tells the database what records to retrieve. There are particular mathematical symbols that you need to know, including equal to, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, and also the criteria or and. Let's create a query that would only show the records of earthquakes that happened in the location of Sumatra. The first step is to go to the top menu ribbon and click on Create. Then click on Query Design. This will bring up a window called Show Table, and it will show a table that we've created. So our one is called Table 1. Click on Add, and then click on Close. This Table 1 window will then show all the fields that we had in our table. So in our previous earthquakes table, we had an ID field, a year field, a location field, a Richter scale measurement field, a number of deaths field, and a tsunami warning field. We're going to need to double click on each field we want to show up in our query. Okay, so we're going to double click on year, and then location, then Richter scale measurement, number of deaths, and tsunami warning. So to only show up the records where the earthquakes only occurred in Sumatra, we need to click on location field, and we click on the criteria cell, and we type in Sumatra in inverted commas. Okay, and then we click on run. Now our data sheet view only displays the 2 earthquakes that happened in Sumatra. So one occurred in 2004 and one occurred in 2007. You can save the query in case you use this query a lot. So if you right click on the Query 1 tab and click on Save, you can name this query Sumatra Earthquakes, then click OK, and then now it will be saved for later use. To go back to the original datasheet view with all the earthquakes, click on the Table 1 tab. Let's now create a query that would only display records of earthquakes with a Richter scale measurement of greater than 5. So like before, in the top menu ribbon, we need to click on Create. Then we need to click on Query Design. This will again bring up the Show Table window, and we select Table 1 and we click on Add, then click on Close. Then we need to double click on each field that we want to show up in our query. So again, we double click on year, and then double click on location, double click on Richter scale measurement, double click on number of deaths, and double click on tsunami warning. So this time we want to filter all the records so that it will only show up with the Richter scale measurement of greater than 5. So under the Richter scale measurement field and in the criteria cell, we need to type in the symbol greater than and then type in 5. And now to test the query, we click on Run at the top menu ribbon, and then the data sheet will now only show all the records with the Richter scale measurement of greater than 5. So as you can see, none of the Richter scale measurements and none of the records is lower than 5. They are all bigger than 5. Let's now create a query that would only display records of earthquakes with a Richter scale measurement of less than 7. To make it quicker, we're not going to save the greater than 5 query. Instead, we're going to change this query to less than 7. So the first thing we need to do is to right click on the Query 1 tab and click on Design View. This will bring us back to our previous query where we searched for earthquakes with a Richter scale measurement of greater than 5. So we're going to delete this criteria, and now we're going to type in less than 7 by typing in the less than symbol and then type in 7. Then we click on Run, which will show up all the records that have an earthquake with a Richter scale measurement of less than 7. Let's now create a query that would only display records of earthquakes with a Richter scale measurement exactly equal to 0. So like before, we right click on the Query 1 tab and then we click on Design View. Instead of the criteria under Richter scale measurement being less than 7, we now need to change it so that it equals to 7. So we delete the previous criteria and we type in the equal symbol and then number 7. And then we click on Run. And now the datasheet will only show up records of earthquakes with a Richter scale measurement of equal to 7. We can also create queries of greater and equal to. So let's say we want to bring up records of earthquakes that are greater or equal to the Richter scale measurement of 7. So we right click on Query 1 and we click on Design View. And instead of having equal 7 in the criteria, we'll have the greater symbol, equal and 7. And now we click on Run. So now the datasheet will show up all the earthquakes with the Richter scale measurement of 7 or greater than 7. Similarly, we can also have the query of less than or equal to. So if we right click on Query 1 tab and we click on Design View, and instead of having greater, equal and 7 in the criteria under Richter scale measurement, we can have the less than symbol, equal and 7. And we click on Run. The datasheet will now show up records of earthquakes that have a Richter scale measurement of 7 or less than 7. Now let's learn about the criteria and all. Let's say we want to see records of earthquakes that only have Richter scale measurements of between 5 and 7, so greater than 5 and less than 7. So once again, we right click on the Query 1 tab and we click on Design View. In the criteria under Richter scale measurement, we delete our previous criteria and we type in greater than 5 space and less than 7. Then we click on Run, and the datasheet will now only show earthquakes with a Richter scale measurement of greater than 5 and less than 7. We can also use the OR criteria in a similar way. Let's say we want to see records of earthquakes with a Richter scale measurement of less than 5 or greater than 7. So like before, we right click on Query 1 and we click on Design View. We delete the criteria we had previously for our Richter scale measurement. This time we want to see earthquakes with a Richter scale of less than 5 or greater than 7. So we type in the less than 5 and then or space and then greater than 7. And then if we click on Run, the datasheet will only show earthquakes that are less than 5 in the Richter scale measurement or greater than 7.